First up, the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted at the Denver Mint, with an impressive total mintage of 334,950,000 coins. By 1950, the U.S. economy was booming, and coin production was high, meaning this penny isn't considered rare. However, its value can vary depending on condition. In fine condition, a 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is typically worth 5 to 10 cents. Not a fortune, but still more than its face value. In uncirculated condition, with full details and luster, its value can range from $3 to $10. If you're lucky enough to find one in MS 65 plus condition, its value can climb up to $30 or more. Coins with a red or reddish hue, often designated as red by professional grading services, are even more valuable. While this penny isn't among the rarest wheat cents, it still holds historical significance as part of the iconic Lincoln series. The design, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, remained in use from 1909 to 1958, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Collectors appreciate the 1950 penny for its role in numismatic history and its accessibility for new collectors. If you have a 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny, check its condition carefully. Well-preserved examples can be a great addition to any collection. Next up, today, we're exploring the history and value of the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting, this coin holds an interesting place in U.S. numismatic history. The 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck at 3 mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. In total, over 950 million pennies were produced that year, making it a very common date for collectors. The Philadelphia Mint struck 657,796,000 with no mint mark. The Denver Mint produced 206,698,000 with the D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint struck 85,590,000 with the S mint mark. This penny was made of 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, a composition used before the switch to steel in 1943 due to World War II metal shortages. The obverse features a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the reverse displays 2 wheat stalks, symbolizing prosperity. The value of a 1942 penny depends on its condition and mint mark. Circulated examples in good to fine condition typically sell for 5 to 20 cents, while extremely fine condition pennies can be worth 50 cents to $1. Uncirculated examples in mint state MS 60 to MS 65 can range from $2 to $5, $15, while red uncirculated MS 66 plus examples or better can fetch anywhere from $40 to $100 or more. Coins with a deep red luster, well-defined details, and minimal wear command the highest prices. Professional grading can help determine its true market value. Some error coins from 1942 can be worth much more. The 1942 DDRPM repunched mint mark variety features a visible repunching of the Denver mint mark and can be worth $10 to $50 or more in higher grades. Off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned during minting, can range from $10 to $100 or more, depending on how much of the design is missing. Clipped planchet errors, where a coin is missing a portion of its edge due to a minting defect, can be valued between $5 and $50. The 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a reminder of a pivotal time in U.S. history, just before America fully shifted its economy to support World War II. The following year, in 1943, pennies were minted from steel instead of copper, making 1942 the last full year of traditional copper pennies before the change. If you have a 1942 wheat penny, check its condition carefully. You might have a valuable coin in your hands. Next up, the 1956 Lincoln wheat penny was minted at 2 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D. The Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 420,745,000 pennies, while the Denver Mint produced an even larger number, totaling 1,098,201,100 pennies. This massive production means the 1956 Lincoln cent is one of the more common wheat pennies, making it relatively easy to find in circulation or collections today. This penny retains the classic Lincoln wheat cent design, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity. The composition remained 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which was used consistently throughout the wheat penny series, except for the steel composition in 1943. Because of its high mintage, the 1956 Lincoln wheat penny does not hold significant value in lower grades. In circulated condition, examples in good to fine grades typically sell for 3 to 10 cents, while those in extremely fine condition may be worth around 25 cents to $1. In uncirculated condition, prices can vary greatly depending on luster, color, and preservation. A mint state MS-60 to MS-65 penny can fetch between $2 to $10, while a premium MS-66 to MS-67 example, particularly with a strong red coloration, designated as red by grading services, can command $30 to $150 or more. The highest graded specimens in MS-67 plus or MS-68 conditions can exceed $1,000, but these are extremely rare. While standard 1956 pennies are common, some varieties and errors make certain examples more valuable. The 1956 DDRPM, repunched mint mark, is a known variety where the D mint mark was stamped multiple times, and depending on the clarity of the error, it can be worth $5 to $50 in high grades. Off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, can be worth anywhere from $10 to $100 or more, depending on the severity of the misalignment. Clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is missing due to an improper blank cutting process, can add $5 to $50 to the coin's value. Other striking errors, such as doubled dies, if found, could significantly increase the coin's worth. Next up, the 1935 Lincoln wheat penny was minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia Mint produced the most, with a total of 245,388,000 coins, followed by Denver with 47 million and San Francisco with 38,702,000. Despite the high mintage, the 1935 penny is still a favorite among collectors due to its classic design and historical significance during the Great Depression. This penny features the iconic Lincoln wheat cent design, with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the reverse showcasing 2 wheat stalks, symbolizing prosperity. The composition remained 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a standard for pennies before the 1943 steel cent transition during World War II. In circulated condition, the 1935 Lincoln wheat penny is not considered rare. Common examples in good to fine condition typically sell for 5 to 25 cents, while those in extremely fine condition can be worth $1 to $5. In uncirculated condition, values increase significantly depending on luster and preservation. A mint state MS-60 to MS-65 example can fetch between $10 to $50, while MS-66 to MS-67 specimens, especially those with a strong red color, can command $100 to $500 or more. The rarest high-grade examples can exceed $1,000, particularly for full red specimens with minimal wear. While the 1935 Lincoln Wheat penny is generally common, some error varieties make certain coins more valuable. The 1935 Doubled Die Obverse DDO variety, which shows doubling on the date and lettering, can be worth anywhere from $50 to $500, depending on the strength of the doubling and the coin's condition. Off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, can range from $10 to $200, depending on how far off-center the strike is. Clipped planche errors, where part of the coin is missing due to a cutting defect, can add $5 to $50 to its value. The 1935 Lincoln Wheat penny is a piece of American history, representing the economic struggles and resilience of the Great Depression era. It remains an affordable yet interesting coin for collectors, and higher-grade specimens can fetch impressive prices. Next up, the 1956-D Lincoln Wheat penny was minted at the Denver Mint, which produced an impressive 1,098,201,100 coins. This massive production makes the 1956-D one of the more common wheat pennies, making it relatively easy to find in circulation or collections today. This penny retains the classic Lincoln wheat cent design, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and two wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity. The composition remained 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which was used consistently throughout the wheat penny series, except for the steel composition in 1943. Because of its high mintage, the 1956-D Lincoln Wheat penny does not hold significant value in lower grades. In circulated condition, examples in good to fine grades typically sell for 3 to 10 cents, while those in extremely fine condition may be worth around 25 cents to $1. In uncirculated condition, prices can vary greatly depending on luster, color, and preservation. A mint state MS-60 to MS-65 penny can fetch between $2 to $10, while a premium MS-66 to MS-67 example, particularly with a strong red coloration, designated as red by grading services, can command $30 to $150 or more. The highest graded specimens in MS-67 plus or MS-68 conditions can exceed $1,000, but these are extremely rare. While standard 1956-D pennies are common, some varieties and errors make certain examples more valuable. The 1956-D/D RPM, repunched mint mark, is a known variety where the D mint mark was stamped multiple times, and depending on the clarity of the error, it can be worth $5 to $50 in high grades. Off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, can be worth anywhere from $10 to $100 or more, depending on the severity of the misalignment. Next up, the 1946 Lincoln Wheat penny was minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. The Philadelphia Mint produced 991,655,000 pennies. The Denver Mint struck 315,690,000, and the San Francisco Mint minted 198,100,000. This was the first full year of wheat penny production after World War II, during which the composition of pennies had briefly changed to steel in 1943 to conserve copper for the war effort. By 1946, the U.S. had returned to the standard 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc alloy. This penny features the classic Lincoln wheat cent design, with Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the reverse showcasing 2 wheat stalks, symbolizing prosperity. Because of its high mintage, The 1946 Lincoln wheat penny is fairly common in circulated condition. In good to fine condition, it typically sells for 5 to 20 cents. In extremely fine condition, the value ranges from 50 cents to $1. Uncirculated examples in mint state, MS-60 to MS-65, can sell for $2 to $10, while higher-graded MS-66 to MS-67 specimens with full red luster can be worth $50 to $100, $150 or more. Rare MS-68 examples can command prices over $1,000 due to their scarcity in near-perfect condition. Although the standard 1946 Lincoln wheat penny is common, certain varieties and errors can make specific coins much more valuable. One of the most well-known errors is the 1946 DDRPM, repunched mint mark, where the D was stamped multiple times, creating a visible doubling effect. Depending on the clarity and grade, this variety can be worth $5 to $50 or more. Doubled die errors, where parts of the design appear duplicated, can increase a coin's value significantly, sometimes exceeding $100 in higher grades. Off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, can range from $10 to $100 or more, depending on how far off-center the strike is. Clipped planche errors, where part of the coin is missing due to a minting defect, can add $5 to $50 to its value. The 1946 Lincoln wheat penny is an important post-war issue and a favorite among collectors due to its historical significance and accessibility. If you have a 1946 wheat penny, check its condition and look for any potential errors. You might have a hidden treasure in your collection. Let us know in the comments if you've found any rare 1946 pennies. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more coin discoveries. Thanks for watching Worth Coin, and happy collecting! First up, the 1994 penny is part of the famous Lincoln Memorial series, which was minted from 1959 all the way up until 2008, when it was replaced with the shield design. The design on the reverse side of the coin is the Lincoln Memorial, and this particular penny features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This series, with its iconic Lincoln Memorial on the back, became one of the most widely circulated coins in U.S. history. In terms of mintage, the 1994 penny is actually quite common, with billions produced. The U.S. Mint produced over 7 billion pennies that year, making it one of the most minted years for the Lincoln Memorial cent. But despite this massive production, the condition of the coin is key when it comes to determining value. A 1994 penny in no fine condition is one that's seen a lot of circulation. It might have scratches, discoloration, or even some damage from years of use, which puts it at the lower end of the coin condition scale. On the coin grading scale, this would likely be rated as good, or even about good, meaning the details are worn down and not as sharp as they once were. So, how much is a 1994 penny worth in this condition? In general, if it's not in the best shape, its value is pretty close to its face value, just 1 cent. That's the reality with most coins from the 1990s that were mass-produced. In fact, unless the coin is in very high grade or has a special error, such as a doubled die or missed strike, it's not going to be worth more than what you see. However, that doesn't mean the 1994 penny isn't still interesting. If you were to find one of these pennies in excellent condition, with very sharp details and minimal wear, it might be worth anywhere between 10 cents to 50 cents, depending on the grade. And if you manage to find a coin with a rare minting error, such as a doubled die or a special die variety, the value could increase significantly, even if the overall condition isn't perfect. For example, there are some rare error varieties from the 1994 Lincoln Memorial cent series, like coins with doubled die obverse, where the image of Abraham Lincoln is faintly repeated due to a misalignment in the die. These error coins are very valuable to collectors and could fetch much higher prices, sometimes even $100 or more, depending on how pronounced the error is and the coin's overall condition. The 1994 penny is also notable for being part of the last years of the Lincoln Memorial design before the U.S. Mint switched to the shield design in 2010. It's a reminder of the old design that most of us are familiar with, so even a well-worn 1994 penny has historical value, especially as the years pass and fewer of these coins are in circulation. Even though the 1994 penny in no fine condition might not be a major investment, it's still a piece of history. And for those of us who enjoy collecting coins, even the most common ones can hold sentimental value and can be a part of a broader collection. Next up, the 1974 penny, as part of the Lincoln Memorial series, features the well-known portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the reverse showing the iconic Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This design has been a staple of the U.S. penny since 1959 and remained in circulation until it was replaced by the shield design in 2010. Now, let's talk about the mintage for this coin. In 1974, the U.S. Mint produced over 4 billion 1-cent coins. This makes the 1974 penny quite common, with a high number of these coins still in circulation today. However, the real value of the 1974 penny comes down to its condition, which brings us to the coin's grade. When we say fine condition, we're talking about a coin that shows clear details, but also shows signs of wear and circulation. On the coin grading scale, a coin in fine condition has distinct details with the Lincoln portrait, and memorial still visible, but with some wear on the high points. The edges might show signs of slight flattening, and the lettering is still legible but not sharp, like it would be on a mint state coin. There might be minor scratches or discoloration, but overall, it's in a decent state for a coin that's over 40 years old. So, what's the value of a 1974 penny in fine condition? Since it was mass-produced, this coin is still very common and doesn't typically carry a huge premium. For the typical 1974 penny in fine condition, you can expect it to be worth somewhere around 1 to 2 cents. That's its face value, or a slight premium depending on the market. However, if you're lucky enough to have a high-grade 1974 penny, meaning a coin that's in much better condition, let's say in excellent or mint state, its value can increase, and it might fetch around $1 to $3 if it's uncirculated and has been well preserved. But when we talk about the fine condition, it's mostly going to be close to face value, unless you happen to find one with a rare minting error. Welcome back to Worth Coin, where we uncover the hidden stories and surprising values behind the coins in your pocket. Today, we're diving into the 1947 S. Lincoln Wheat Penny, a post-war cent that may look ordinary but carries some fascinating history and potential value. Let's dig in. The 1947 S. Lincoln Wheat Penny is a fascinating coin that combines post-war American history with timeless numismatic interest. Minted in San Francisco, as denoted by the small S mint mark below the date on the obverse side, this penny is part of the classic Lincoln Wheat Cent series, which was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The design, created by Victor D. Brenner, features the iconic bust of Lincoln on the obverse, while the reverse displays 2 stylized wheat ears, flanking the words 1 cent and United States of America, a symbol of agricultural strength and national unity. In 1947, the United States Mint was operating in full swing following the end of World War II. The San Francisco Mint struck over 99 million 1947 S wheat pennies, making this a common date in circulated grades. However, the coin still holds interest for collectors due to its historical context and the potential value of high-grade examples. These coins were composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams and measuring 19 millimeters in diameter. Over the decades, the composition, appearance, and patina of these coins can change, with some acquiring a deep brown or red-brown tone, while others remain in brilliant red if properly preserved. In terms of value, circulated 1947 pennies typically range from about 5 to 15 cents depending on wear, which means they're generally not rare in worn condition. However, the real value lies in uncirculated and mint-state examples. A 1947 wheat penny in about uncirculated condition might sell for $1 to $3, while mint-state coins graded MS-63 can fetch between $5 and $10. The price increases significantly for coins with original red luster and pristine surfaces. MS-65 red examples can sell for $25 to $75, and exceptionally high-grade specimens, such as MS-67 red, have sold at auction for over $200. These values can fluctuate based on current market demand and the presence of premium characteristics like full luster, sharp strikes, and clean surfaces. While the 1947 is not known for major varieties, there are minor errors that collectors look out for. These include die cracks, off-center strikes, and lamination errors, all of which can increase the value depending on severity and visibility. Though subtle, these anomalies can turn an otherwise common penny into an eye-catching piece for error coin collectors. The 1947 penny also represents a period of rebuilding and prosperity in the United States, just 2 years after the end of World War II. The economy was growing, families were thriving in the post-war boom, and the Lincoln cent remained a symbol of enduring national pride. Even though millions of these coins were struck and circulated, they now serve as small copper-time capsules from a transformative era in American history. For collectors, the 1947 wheat penny may not always bring big money, but it offers a rewarding connection to the past, especially in high grade or with interesting errors. So whether you're just starting your collection or you're a seasoned coin hunter, don't overlook the humble 1947 It may just surprise you at the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny, specifically in bad condition. While this coin may not look like much at first glance, it carries a piece of American history and still holds a place in the hearts of collectors and enthusiasts across the country. Even if your penny is scratched, faded, or heavily worn, there's still value in understanding what it is, where it came from, and what it might be worth today. The 1957-D penny was minted at the Denver Mint, as shown by the small D located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. The design features the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln, which first appeared on U.S. 1-cent coins in 1909 to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this portrait has become one of the most iconic images in American coinage. On the reverse, the coin features 2 wheat stalks curving along the sides of the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the Latin phrase "e pluribus unum" above. This reverse design, known as the wheat reverse or wheat ears design, was used from 1909 until 1958, making the 1957-D one of the final issues before the transition to the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. In terms of production numbers, the 1957-D is anything but rare. Over 1 billion of these coins were struck. Specifically, 1,051,342,000 pieces were minted at the Denver facility. That high mintage means that many of these coins remain in existence today, often found in coin jars, old drawers, and change rolls. Because of how many were produced, a 1957 D penny in poor or bad condition is relatively common and doesn't hold a high premium. Most of them have passed through countless hands, vending machines, and store counters over the decades, which has naturally resulted in heavy wear and tear. When we talk about bad condition, we're referring to coins that are heavily circulated. Those with worn-down features, scratches, discoloration, corrosion, and faded or flattened details. In this state, the coin's condition is typically graded between good G-4 and fine F-12 on the coin grading scale. In this condition, a 1957 D penny usually holds a value of just 2 to 4 cents. That's right, just slightly above its face value. Dealers often sell these pennies in bulk, sometimes offering rolls or bags of hundreds of circulated wheat pennies at a few cents each. So, if your 1957 D looks rough, it probably won't fetch more than a few pennies unless it has something special about it. That being said, even worn examples can still be worth a second look. There are a few varieties and error types associated with the 1957 D that can increase a coin's value significantly, even in lower grades. One thing to look for is a doubled die error. This happens when the coin's design is struck twice slightly offset, creating a doubling effect that is visible on the date or lettering. Though not common for 1957-D pennies, doubled dies are always worth checking for with a magnifier. Another possibility is a repunched mint mark, or RPM. This occurs when the D mint mark was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. These are minor varieties, but collectors enjoy finding them, and they can sell for several dollars even in circulated grades. You should also be on the lookout for off-center strikes, die cracks, or lamination errors. These minting mistakes can turn an otherwise average coin into something collectible. For example, an off-center 1957 D penny, where a significant portion of the design is missing from one edge due to misalignment, could fetch between $10 to $50, depending on how dramatic the error is. So, before tossing your old penny into a change jar or giving it away, take a moment to examine it carefully. You never know what you might have. Even if your coin doesn't have an error or variety, there's still a reason to hold on to it. The 1957 D wheat penny represents one of the final years of a design that ran for nearly 50 years. It's a symbol of mid-20th century America, produced during the Eisenhower presidency and in a time of both economic growth and Cold War tension. These coins have become a great entry point for young or beginner collectors. They're affordable, easy to find, and rich with history. Some people collect them by year and mint mark, building full sets of wheat pennies from 1909 to 1958. Even a well-worn 1957 D can help complete one of these classic sets. So while a heavily worn 1957 D Lincoln wheat penny might not make you rich, it still carries value, not just in cents, but in the story it tells. It connects us to a different era, when pennies were made of 95% copper and filled with meaning. Whether you keep it for your collection, pass it on to a new collector, or just appreciate it for what it is, this little coin is more than just pocket change. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below telling us what condition your 1957 D penny is in. We'll see you next time with more coin history, collecting tips, and hidden treasures from everyday change. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny is a fascinating coin that often sparks interest among collectors and history lovers alike. It was minted during a critical time in U.S. history, right in the middle of World War II. While it may seem like an ordinary wheat penny, there's more to this coin than meets the eye. Let's explore its full story, from its design and background to its current value, and the factors that make certain versions of it more valuable than others. The Lincoln Wheat Penny, originally introduced in 1909, was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it honors President Abraham Lincoln. The obverse of the coin shows Lincoln's profile, while the reverse features two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the motto E pluribus unum above. This design continued until 1958, making the wheat penny a long-running and iconic part of U.S. coinage. Now, let's look specifically at the 1942 issue. By that year, the U.S. was fully engaged in World War II, and the government was already beginning to conserve materials for the war effort. However, in 1942, the penny was still made primarily from bronze, which was a mix of about 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This would be the final full year before the mint switched to steel in 1943 to save copper for ammunition and military equipment. The 1942 wheat penny was produced at all three major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, while the Denver coins show a small D below the date, and the San Francisco coins show an S. In total, over 950 million Lincoln cents were minted in 1942, making it a very common year. Specifically, about 657 million were struck in Philadelphia, 206 million in Denver, and around 85 million in San Francisco. Because of the high mintage, most 1942 pennies found in circulation today are worth only a few cents to perhaps $1 if they're in good condition. In circulated condition, most are worth around 5 to 25 cents. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with strong luster, minimal marks, and full details, can be worth significantly more. A mint state 1942 penny-graded MS-65 can range in value from $5 to $15, depending on the mint mark. For higher grades, like MS-66 or MS-67, prices increase. A beautiful red specimen in MS-67 from Philadelphia can reach up to $200 or more. Denver and San Francisco mint coins in high grades tend to be a bit scarcer, so they can command slightly higher prices among serious collectors. Next up, the 1938 Lincoln Wheat Penny may not be one of the rarest coins in the Lincoln series, but it still carries plenty of history and value, especially for collectors looking to complete a full set of wheat cents. While it's considered a relatively common date, condition, mint mark, and certain characteristics can still make this coin more desirable and valuable than it first appears. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, making it the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin features Lincoln's profile, while the reverse has two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, with the Latin motto E pluribus unum at the top. This design ran from 1909 through 1958 and has become one of the most collected coin series in the world. By 1938, the Great Depression was still affecting much of the United States, but coin production had returned to relatively normal levels. That year, the Lincoln cent was struck at 3 U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia mint coins have no mint mark, while Denver coins carry a small D below the date, and San Francisco coins carry an S. In total, the Philadelphia mint struck over 156 million pennies, Denver produced about 20 million, and San Francisco added around 15 million more. These are fairly high numbers, so in circulated condition, most 1938 wheat pennies aren't particularly rare. In terms of value, most 1938 pennies found in everyday circulation are worth just a little over face value, typically between 5 and 25 cents, depending on their condition. If a coin is in average circulated condition with visible wear, it's still a neat historical piece, but not especially valuable. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with bright red color, minimal marks, and strong details, can bring much higher prices. A Philadelphia 1938 penny graded MS-65. Red might sell for $8 to $12, while higher grades like MS-66 or MS-67 can bring $40 to $150 or more. Denver and San Francisco coins in similar condition can fetch slightly more, especially if they're bright red and well struck. A 1938-D or 1938-S penny in MS-67 red can be worth over $200 to serious collectors, because top-grade coins are far less common than circulated ones. For collectors, color plays a big role in value. Red, red-brown, and brown are the three major categories used when grading copper coins. A full red coin, meaning it has retained its original mint color, is always more desirable than a brown one. Over time, copper tends to darken, and once that red luster is lost, the value typically decreases unless the coin is exceptionally rare or has a strong strike. Next up, the 1944 S. Lincoln Wheat penny is one of those classic World War II-era coins that holds both historical significance and collectible value. At first glance, it might look like just another old penny, but there's more to this coin than meets the eye. From its unique place in wartime U.S. coinage to the surprising value it can carry in the right condition, the 1944 S. Wheat penny is a must-know for collectors and history lovers alike. Let's take a step back and understand the context. In 1943, during the height of World War II, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic change to the penny. To save copper for the war effort, they struck Lincoln cents using zinc-coated steel. These 1943 steel pennies are iconic today, but they caused problems. They rusted easily, and they were often confused with dimes. So, in 1944, the Mint returned to using copper. Specifically, they used recycled copper from shell casings collected from military training grounds. This gives the 1944 Lincoln cent, including the 1944 S, a special connection to the war. Many collectors even call these shell case cents because of that origin. The S mint mark below the date means this coin was minted in San Francisco. In total, over 282,001,944 S. Lincoln Wheat pennies were produced, which makes it a very high mintage coin. That means it's not considered rare in general circulation, but that doesn't mean it has no value, especially in high grades or with unique characteristics. In average circulated condition, a 1944 S penny is worth between 5 and 25 cents. That might not seem like much, but when you get into higher grade coins, the value increases. A 1944 S penny in mint state condition, especially with a bright red color and strong strike, can be worth $5 to $25 in MS-63 to MS-65 grade. In MS-66, red, values often go up to $50 or more, and a top-quality example graded MS-67 red can sell for $150 or higher at auction. That's a big leap from face value, especially for a coin that's over 80 years old and once sat in millions of pockets. As always with copper coins, color plays a big role. Collectors divide copper coins into three color grades: brown BN, red-brown RB, and red RD. A full red 1944 S penny is worth more than one that has toned or darkened over time. That's why keeping coins in good storage and protecting them from air and moisture can make a huge difference in long-term value. Next up, the 1958 Lincoln Wheat penny is not just the last of its kind. It marks the end of an era in American coinage. It was the final year the U.S. Mint produced the iconic wheat reverse design, which had been in circulation since 1909. For collectors and history lovers, that alone gives the 1958 penny special meaning. But beyond the history, there are also some important facts about its mintage, value, and rare varieties that make this a coin worth looking at closely. Let's start with the design. The obverse of the 1958 penny features the familiar right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday, making it the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. On the reverse, you see two curved wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the Latin motto E pluribus unum at the top. This reverse design had been used for almost 50 years, and 1958 would be its last appearance. Starting in 1959, the U.S. Mint replaced the wheat design with the Lincoln Memorial on the back, in honor of the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. In 1958, Lincoln wheat pennies were minted at two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia Mint struck around 252 million coins with no mint mark, while the Denver Mint produced over 800 million coins, each with a small D beneath the date. That's more than 1,001,958 Lincoln cents in total, making this one of the most common wheat pennies ever made. Because of this massive mintage, most 1958 pennies found today are not rare and hold only modest value in circulated condition. In average circulated grades, a 1958 or 1958-D penny is usually worth about 3 to 10 cents. These coins are common, and even nice-looking examples often show up in old jars or pocket change. But uncirculated examples in mint state condition, especially those with original red luster, can sell for more. A 1958 penny in MS-65 red grade might go for $10 to $20, while MS-66 examples can sell for $30 to $50. A top-grade coin in MS-67 red, especially if it's well struck and has strong eye appeal, can be worth over $100, particularly for collectors trying to complete a high-grade wheat cent set. One thing that makes the 1958 Lincoln cent stand out in numismatic history is a very famous and rare error: the 1958 doubled die obverse. This is one of the most valuable Lincoln penny varieties ever discovered. On this error, the words Liberty and In God We Trust show strong and clear doubling that can be seen without a microscope. Only a few dozen of these doubled die pennies are known to exist, and they're considered one of the holy grails of modern penny collecting. If you happen to find one, you're looking at a coin worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, of dollars, depending on condition. Some have sold for over $100,000 at major auctions. So, if you have a 1958 penny, especially from Philadelphia, take a very close look at the lettering. If you notice anything unusual or doubled, it's worth having it checked by a professional grader. Next up, the 1935 Lincoln Wheat penny is more than just an old copper coin. It's a small piece of American history. Minted during the Great Depression, this penny reflects a time when even 1 cent held real value, and people were struggling to get by. Today, the 1935 wheat penny is a common find for collectors, but it still carries interest because of its age, design, and condition-based value. While it's not a rare date in the Lincoln Cent series, the story behind it and its potential value make it worth a closer look. Let's begin with the design. The 1935 Lincoln penny features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or front, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. On the reverse, the coin displays two wheat stalks curving around the words 1 cent and United States of America. At the top is the motto E pluribus unum, a Latin phrase meaning out of many, one. This wheat reverse was used from 1909 through 1958 and is one of the most iconic coin designs in American history. In 1935, Lincoln cents were produced at two mints, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia coins do not have a mint mark, while the Denver coins feature a small D just below the date. That year, the Philadelphia Mint struck around 245 million pennies, and the Denver Mint added approximately 47 million more. Combined, over 290 million Lincoln cents were made in 1935, so this coin is generally considered common. As a result, most circulated 1935 pennies are easy to find and affordable, but the value can vary based on condition, mint mark, and any possible errors. For coins in average circulated condition, a 1935 penny is typically worth around 5 to 15 cents. That means most of the coins you find in old jars or pocket change won't be extremely valuable, but they are still cool pieces of history. If the coin is in better shape, like lightly worn or about uncirculated, it can be worth more, often between 25 cents and a few dollars. The real value begins to show in uncirculated or mint state coins. A 1935 Lincoln cent in mint state 63 condition with full red color can be worth between $8 and $15. Higher grade examples, like mint state 65 or mint state 66, especially with bright red luster and minimal marks, can fetch $30 to $75 or even more. Coins graded MS67 red are quite rare for this date, and can sell for over $200 if the quality is exceptional. When it comes to copper coins like the 1935 penny, color matters a lot. Collectors grade copper coins using color designations: brown, red-brown, and red. A brown coin shows natural dark toning from age and wear, while a red-brown coin retains some of its original mint color. A full red coin, one that looks bright and fresh like the day it was minted, is always the most desirable and valuable. That's why a 1935 penny in full red condition can bring such a premium over a brown example. Next up, the 1957-D Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most common and widely circulated wheat cents ever made, but it still holds a unique place in American coin history. Minted during the final years of the wheat penny era, the 1957D is a coin that many people still find in old change jars or coin rolls. While it's not a rare coin, its value can vary greatly depending on its condition, color, and whether any special errors are present. Let's start with the basics. The 1957D penny features the same classic design that had been used on the Lincoln cent since 1909. On the obverse is the familiar right-facing portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner. This was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure, and it was introduced on the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll see two wheat ears curving along the sides, framing the bold words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the Latin phrase E pluribus unum across the top. Now let's talk about the mint mark. The D beneath the date on this coin tells us it was minted at the Denver Mint. In 1957, Denver produced a massive number of Lincoln wheat pennies, over 1.05 billion coins, to be exact. That makes the 1957 D one of the highest mintage wheat cents of all time. Because of this, it's very common in circulated condition and is often one of the first coins beginners add to their collections. In terms of metal, the 1957 D penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Each coin weighs 3.11 grams. This composition gives it a classic bronze tone, and over time, these coins tend to darken if not stored properly. Like all copper coins, the color is an important factor in determining its value. Collectors use 3 color grades: brown, BN, red-brown, RB, and red, RD. A red coin has most of its original mint luster, while brown coins have toned over the years. Red coins are the most valuable, especially in high mint state grades. Because this coin is so common, most 1957 D pennies found in circulation are only worth about 3 to 10 cents. That includes coins with moderate wear and no special features. However, uncirculated coins, especially those with a bright red color and sharp detail, are more desirable. In MS-63, red, a 1957 D penny is worth about $5 to $10. In MS-65 red, it can be worth $15 to $25. A top-quality example graded MS-66 or MS-67 red can sell for $50 to over $100, depending on eye appeal and market demand. PCGS and NGC have certified many 1957 D pennies in high grades, but finding one with perfect surfaces and full luster is still a challenge. Next up, the 1955 Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most talked about coins in American numismatics, not just because of its regular version, but because of a famous error that turned this coin into a legend among collectors. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned collector, the 1955 penny is one you should know about, and depending on what version you have, it could be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. Let's start with the regular 1955 penny. Like other wheat cents, the design features the classic right-facing bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate Lincoln's 100th birthday, and it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. On the reverse, you see the 2 wheat ears curving along the sides, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the Latin motto E pluribus unum across the top. In 1955, Lincoln cents were produced at 2 mints, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 330 million pennies, and these have no mint mark under the date. The Denver Mint produced over 563 million coins, and those carry a small D mint mark just below the year. The majority of 1955 pennies you'll find in circulation or coin rolls are from these 2 regular issues, and because of their high mintage, they are generally considered common. In circulated condition, they're usually worth around 5 to 15 cents. That makes them affordable for most collectors and easy to find. But if you have a coin in mint state condition, especially one with its original red luster, the value increases. A 1955 Lincoln cent, graded MS-63 red, can sell for around $10 to $20. In MS-65 red, it's worth closer to $50, and examples in MS-66 or MS-67 red can reach $100 or more, depending on eye appeal and rarity at that grade level. Now here's where things get really interesting. The 1955 doubled die obverse. This is one of the most famous and dramatic error coins in U.S. history. During the minting process at the Philadelphia Mint, a die was improperly manufactured with a doubled image. This doubling is extremely clear and visible to the naked eye, especially in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the date 1955. It's not the kind of minor doubling that requires a magnifying glass. This one is bold, clear, and unmistakable. Thanks for watching. The 1980 Kennedy half-dollar is a fascinating piece of American coinage, not for its precious metal content, since by that year silver had been phased out of regular circulation strikes, but for its place in numismatic history and continued interest among collectors. Introduced in 1964 following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the Kennedy half-dollar was originally struck in 90% silver. However, by 1980, the coin had undergone major changes in composition. The 1980 Kennedy half-dollar was minted with a clad composition consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. This change had begun in 1971, reflecting rising silver prices and the need for more cost-effective circulating coinage. Though the 1980 coin holds no silver content, it remains a popular collectible, especially in higher grades. The obverse of the 1980 Kennedy half-dollar features the familiar left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. His initials, GR, can be found at the truncation of the neck. The word "Liberty" arches above the bust, while the motto "In God We Trust" is placed below, with the year 1980 centered at the bottom. The reverse side, designed by Frank Gasparo, mirrors the presidential seal. It depicts a heraldic eagle with a shield on its chest, clutching an olive branch in its right talon, and a bundle of arrows in its left. The eagle is surrounded by a ring of 50 stars, and the legend, United States of America, curves around the top, with half-dollar at the bottom. In 1980, Kennedy half-dollars were produced at 3 U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 44 million pieces, the Denver Mint struck approximately 33.5 million, and the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins for collector sets, totaling over 3.5 million. Because these coins were made in large quantities, circulated examples from Philadelphia and Denver are very common and generally worth only their face value of 50 cents. However, uncirculated coins, or those with particularly high grades certified by agencies like PCGS or NGC, can fetch modest premiums. For example, a 1980 Kennedy half-dollar graded MS-67 can sell for $50 or more, while the 1980p in the same grade can bring similar prices, depending on demand and strike quality. Next up, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is a well-known coin in U.S. coinage, not because of rarity or silver content, but because of its place in the broader Kennedy series and the continued popularity of President John F. Kennedy's legacy. First minted in 1964 to honor President Kennedy after his assassination in 1963, the Kennedy half-dollar initially contained 90% silver. That composition changed in 1965 to a 40% silver-clad alloy, and by 1971, the U.S. Mint removed all silver from circulation strike half-dollars. So by the time the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar was minted, it was made entirely of a copper-nickel-clad composition, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. The obverse of the coin features the left-facing profile of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. It carries the inscriptions "Liberty" around the top, "In God We Trust" split across the field beneath Kennedy's chin, and the date 1972 at the bottom. The reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, shows the presidential seal, a heraldic eagle holding an olive branch in one talon and a bundle of arrows in the other, with a shield on its chest. A circle of 50 stars surrounds the eagle, with the inscriptions United States of America and $50 framing the outer edge. In 1972, the Kennedy $50 was minted at 3 different U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 153.8 million coins. The Denver Mint struck around 141 million, and the San Francisco Mint produced about 3.2 million proof coins for collectors. These high mintages mean that the 1972 Kennedy $50 is common, and in circulated condition, it is generally only worth face value, about 50 cents. However, value increases with condition. Uncirculated examples graded MS-65 or higher can sell for a few dollars, and exceptionally well-struck or high-grade pieces, especially those graded MS-66 or MS-67, may reach $20 to $100 or more, depending on the quality and market demand. The San Francisco minted proof versions, especially those graded PR69 or PR70 with deep cameo contrast, can bring in higher values, typically between $10 and $50, with the rare, perfect-grade examples fetching even more. Next up, the 1977 Kennedy $50 is part of the long-running Kennedy Half Series, first introduced in 1964 to honor the late President John F. Kennedy after his assassination in 1963. By 1977, the coin had already undergone several changes, most notably the complete removal of silver from its composition for circulation issues. Like all Kennedy $50 minted for circulation after 1970, the 1977 issue is made from a copper nickel-clad composition. This means it has an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. While it doesn't contain any silver, the 1977 Kennedy $50 still holds interest for collectors due to its design, mint varieties, and the potential value of high-grade or proof specimens. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing bust of President John F. Kennedy, originally designed by Gilroy Roberts. Around the rim is the word Liberty, with "In God We Trust" positioned in front of and below Kennedy's profile. The date 1977 is centered at the bottom. The reverse, created by Frank Gasparro, features the presidential seal, an eagle holding an olive branch and arrows, with a shield across its chest and surrounded by a circle of 50 stars. The reverse includes the inscriptions United States of America and $50. The 1977 Kennedy $50 was struck at 2 mints for general circulation: Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a D mint mark, and a proof version was produced in San Francisco, marked with an S. Mintage figures were relatively high. Philadelphia produced around 43.6 million coins. Denver struck about 31.4 million. And San Francisco made just over 3.2 million proof coins for collector sets. In circulated condition, the 1977 Kennedy $50 is very common and typically only worth face value, about 50 cents. However, values increase slightly for uncirculated examples. Coins in MS-65 condition may sell for $5 to $10, while examples graded MS-66 or higher, especially with good luster and clean fields, can reach $30 to $100 depending on market demand. The 1977 D coins tend to be a little more common in high grades compared to the 1977 P, making high-grade Philadelphia issues slightly more desirable to some collectors. Next up, the 1971 Kennedy $50 marks a significant turning point in the series and in modern U.S. coinage history. This was the first year that the Kennedy half-dollar was struck entirely without silver for general circulation. From 1964 to 1970, Kennedy half-dollars contained either 90% or 40% silver. But beginning in 1971, all circulating versions were made using a copper-nickel-clad composition, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. This made the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar the beginning of a new era for the denomination, as it became a base metal coin like most other modern U.S. coinage. The obverse design features the well-known left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, created by Gilroy Roberts. Surrounding the portrait is the word Liberty, with "In God We Trust" positioned beneath the neck, and the date 1971 centered below. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, is the presidential seal, a bald eagle holding an olive branch and arrows, with a shield on its chest, and surrounded by 50 stars. The reverse also bears the inscriptions United States of America and half-dollar. In 1971, Kennedy half-dollars were struck at 2 mints for circulation: Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D mint mark, as well as at the San Francisco Mint, S mint mark, for proof coins only. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 155.5 million coins, and the Denver Mint struck around 302 million, making the 1971 D one of the highest mintage Kennedy halves ever. The San Francisco Mint produced about 3.2 million proof coins, which were sold directly to collectors as part of proof sets. Because of these extremely high mintage numbers and the fact that the coins contain no silver, most 1971 Kennedy half-dollars in circulated condition are worth only face value, 50 cents. However, collector interest and values increase when the coin is in pristine, uncirculated condition. A 1971 P or 1971 D Kennedy half-dollar, graded MS-65 or higher by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC, can be worth $10 to $50, and exceptional examples graded MS-66 or MS-67 can command even higher premiums, occasionally reaching $100 or more, especially if they exhibit strong luster and a clean strike. First up, the 1967 Kennedy half-dollar was part of a series minted between 1965 and 1970, when the U.S. government reduced the silver content in circulating coins. Unlike the 1964 Kennedy half-dollar, which was 90% silver, the 1967 version contains 40% silver, making it still desirable for collectors and investors alike. During this period, no mint marks were used on half-dollars to discourage hoarding, so all 1967 halves were minted without a visible mark, though they were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. In terms of value, a standard circulated 1967 Kennedy half-dollar is typically worth around $4 to $7 due to its silver content. However, higher-grade uncirculated examples can sell for $50 or more. The real treasures are the SMS, Special Mint Set versions, which feature a sharper strike and satin finish. High-quality SMS specimens, particularly those graded MS-67 or higher, can sell for well over $1,000. Additionally, rare error varieties add even more value to these coins. Some known errors include missing initials, doubled dies, and off-center strikes. A well-preserved 1967 Kennedy half-dollar with an error can fetch significantly higher prices at auction. Before you spend or sell your 1967 Kennedy half-dollar, take a closer look. If it's in top condition or has a rare feature, you could be sitting on a valuable piece of history. Next up, the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar marks a major transition, as it was the first year the U.S. Mint completely removed silver from regular issue half-dollars. Unlike previous versions, which contained 40% silver from 1965 to 1970, or 90% silver in 1964, the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar is composed of a copper nickel clad, making it the first half-dollar of its kind. These coins were minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D mint mark, and San Francisco, S mint mark for proof versions. In terms of value, most circulated 1971 Kennedy half-dollars are only worth their face value of 50 cents due to their high mintage and lack of silver content. However, uncirculated examples and proof versions can carry a premium. A standard uncirculated 1971 half-dollar may sell for $2 to $10, while high-grade MS-66 plus examples can reach $100 or more. The proof versions struck at the San Francisco Mint, especially those in deep cameo condition, can be worth between $10 and $50, with top-graded specimens selling for even higher prices. The most valuable 1971 Kennedy half-dollars are those with minting errors. One of the rarest and most sought-after errors is the 1971 D. Kennedy half-dollar struck on a 40% silver planchet. A small number of these were mistakenly minted on leftover silver blanks from 1970. If you suspect you have one, check its weight. Silver planchets weigh approximately 11.5 grams, whereas standard clad coins weigh around 11.34 grams. These error coins have been known to sell for over $10,000 at auction. Other notable errors include doubled die obverses, off-center strikes, and missing clad layers, all of which can add significant value to a 1971 Kennedy half-dollar. Next up, the 1965 Kennedy half-dollar was the first year of a major composition change in U.S. coinage. Prior to 1965, half-dollars were made of 90% silver, but due to rising silver prices and coin shortages, the U.S. Mint reduced the silver content to 40% and introduced a copper core. This silver-clad composition was used from 1965 to 1970 before being completely phased out in 1971. Unlike earlier coins, the 1965 Kennedy half-dollar was minted without a mint mark to discourage hoarding, though they were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. In terms of value, circulated 1965. Kennedy half-dollars are primarily valued for their silver content, making them worth around $5 to $10 depending on silver prices. However, uncirculated examples and high-grade coins can command much higher premiums. A well-preserved mint state, MS-66 or higher, 1965 Kennedy half-dollar can sell for $100 or more, while the most pristine examples have fetched over $2,000 at auctions. One of the rarest varieties is the 1965 Special Mint Set Kennedy half-dollar. These SMS coins were produced with a higher quality satin finish and sharper details compared to regular circulation coins. Some of these SMS half-dollars also display a unique Deep Cameo DCAM finish, making them even more desirable. High-grade SMS coins can sell for over $5,000. Error coins are another factor that can increase a 1965 Kennedy half-dollar's value. Notable errors include doubled die obverse DDO varieties, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets. Coins with dramatic errors can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on their rarity and condition. Next up, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar was minted in an era when the U.S. had fully transitioned away from silver coinage. Unlike earlier versions that contained silver, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is composed of a copper-nickel clad, meaning it has no intrinsic silver value. These coins were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark for proof versions. In terms of value, circulated 1972 Kennedy half-dollars are generally worth face value as they were produced in massive quantities. Over 150 million were struck. However, uncirculated examples and high-grade specimens can fetch higher prices. A well-preserved mint state, MS 66 or higher, 1972 Kennedy half-dollar can sell for $50 to $500, depending on its condition and rarity. Proof versions, especially those graded PR 69 or PR 70 with a deep cameo decam finish, can sell for $50 to $200. One of the rarest and most sought-after varieties is the 1972 D. Kennedy half-dollar with a no FG missing designer initials error. The initials FG for Frank Gasparo, the coin's designer, are supposed to appear on the reverse near the eagle's tail feathers. Some coins were struck with a weak or missing FG due to excessive die polishing. These rare error coins can sell for over $1,000 in top grades. Another valuable error to look for is the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar struck on a silver planchet. While all 1972 halves were officially struck on copper-nickel planchets, a few were mistakenly minted on leftover 40% silver blanks from 1970. These error coins can be identified by their weight approximately 11.5 grams instead of 11.34 grams and a distinctive silver ring when tapped. If verified, these coins can sell for thousands of dollars. If you own a 1972 Kennedy half-dollar, be sure to check for high-grade condition or rare errors before spending it. While most are common, some can be worth a small fortune. Thanks for watching Worth Coin. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe for more coin collecting insights. Who knows? Your pocket change might be worth a fortune. This coin holds not only historical importance, but also a unique place in American coin collecting. Let's explore its origins, design, key features, varieties, and what makes some of these coins worth much more than face value. In 1976, the United States celebrated its 200th anniversary of independence. To mark this momentous occasion, the U.S. Mint released special bicentennial coins, including the quarter, the half-dollar, and the dollar coin. These coins are distinct because they all bear dual dates, 1776 to 1976, instead of a single year. The Kennedy half-dollar was chosen as one of the 3 coins to carry this patriotic design, and it immediately caught the attention of collectors and the public alike. The obverse, or front, of the coin features the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. This design had been used since the coin's introduction in 1964, just months after Kennedy's assassination. But it's the reverse side that sets the bicentennial version apart. The reverse design, created by Seth G. Huntington, shows Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the iconic site where both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution were debated and adopted. Above the image is the inscription, United States of America, and the denomination, half-dollar. Just below Independence Hall, you will find the words 200 Years of Freedom, and, of course, the dual date, 1776 to 1976, commemorating the bicentennial of the United States. These bicentennial half-dollars were minted from 1975 through 1976, but none of them have a 1975 date. Instead, all coins produced over this 2-year period are marked with the dual date, 1776 to 1976. The coins were minted at 3 different locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia bear no mint mark. Those from Denver have a small D mint mark, and those from San Francisco have an S. Now, when it comes to materials and value, not all bicentennial Kennedy half-dollars are created equal. The vast majority of these coins were made for circulation and are composed of a copper-nickel-clad composition, meaning they have a copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel. These coins were minted in large numbers, so if you find one in pocket change or a coin jar, it's likely to be this type. As of today, circulated copper-nickel bicentennial halves typically have little to no additional value above face value, around 50 cents. However, in uncirculated condition, these coins may be worth about $1 to $3 depending on their grade. But here's where it gets interesting. The San Francisco Mint also struck special collector versions, both proof and uncirculated, in a 40% silver composition. These silver bicentennial Kennedy half-dollars were sold as part of 3 coin sets that included the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar. These coins are much more sought after by collectors and hold significantly more value, especially in pristine condition. A 40% silver uncirculated bicentennial half-dollar can be worth between $4 and $10. A 40% silver proof version, depending on its condition, can sell for $6 to $15 or more. High-grade examples graded by services like PCGS or NGC can go even higher, especially those graded PR69 or PR70. Some rare errors and varieties also boost value. These include double-die obverses or reverses, off-center strikes, and coins struck on the wrong planche. These are rare but can command premium prices, sometimes hundreds of dollars, depending on the rarity and condition. Another factor that affects the value is the condition or grade of the coin. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with 70 being a perfect coin. Uncirculated coins, those with no signs of wear, generally begin at MS60 and can reach up to MS70 for flawless specimens. Proof coins are specially made for collectors, with extra sharp detail and mirror-like surfaces, and are designated as PR or PF. If your bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar is graded highly, say MS67 or higher, it could be worth a lot more than just 50 cents, especially if it's a silver version. So, should you keep or sell a bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar? If you have one of the regular copper-nickel ones in circulated condition, it's usually best to just hold on to it as a piece of history unless it's in exceptional shape. However, if you have a silver version, especially one in uncirculated or proof condition, it's definitely worth keeping, or getting it appraised if it looks flawless. And if you stumble across an error coin, get it checked by a professional grading service. You could be holding on to a hidden gem. In summary, the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial Kennedy half-dollar is more than just a coin. It's a symbol of American heritage. While most of them aren't worth a fortune, certain varieties and conditions can fetch respectable prices among collectors. Whether you're just getting into coin collecting or already a seasoned collector, this coin is a great piece to own. It represents a unique moment in U.S. history and continues to be one of the most iconic commemorative coins ever minted. Thanks for watching Worth Coin. If you found this video helpful or learned something new today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the history and value of collectible U.S. coins. See you in the next one.